What do you got?
We were trying to change something.
Skateboarding is a way of learning how to redefine the world around you.
The owners of this country don't care about the poor and your owners.
Now, baby, push me. Push me again now.
Screaming at a wall.
Hello?
This is Global Tellink. You have a prepaid call from
Brian Tobias.
an inmate at the Ironwood State Prison, Blythe, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tellink.
Morning, buddy.
What's up, you miscreants, you misfits, and you outcast of society? Another episode of Screaming at a Wall podcast coming at you, episode 14. And today we have an extra special guest, someone near and dear to my heart, my brother from the same mother. What up, Brian?
How are you, man? Good morning to you.
Good morning. You want to say what's up to everybody?
How you doing, everybody?
Yeah,
Morning to y'all.
no response because it's just you and I. So, what's going on, man? I'm finally able to connect to you, and we're able to time it. Why is that? What's going on in there? There's a whole lot of hoopla going on in the California Department of Corrections right now, specifically in your prison, Ironwood State Prison.
Oh, well, the good news is we now have phone tablets in here where we're able to contact our families, call anytime throughout the day, certain times, minus counts. And we have other access on this tablet, including education, books, religious things, and as well as video visits.
Yeah,
it's
then
definitely going to help. What's that?
I was just gonna say, I can also send you videos and pictures, basically like we're texting back and forth through the app,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. I was gonna say GTL is gonna make a lot of money from that because it's like 5 cents per text per picture. They're gonna make a killing. I'm sure somebody was like, "Hey man, we gotta make some money here. We're only doing this 15-minute collect call thing, and that's only bringing us in like so much money. Now with this, like they're gonna make a lot of money, huh?"
Yeah, I imagine so. I'm happy with the ability to be able to call family throughout the day, man, without having to wait for them to open the door for the phone and other things canceling out our phone calls, which happens a lot. But
yeah, one of the reasons that was one of the reasons that we weren't able to really connect before, because like I'm gonna call you on Friday at 10 a.m. and then you guys would go on lockdown. Or just something would happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is pretty cool. So you already know a little bit about the podcast and primarily what we focus on. I've had Mom on as a guest, and I just had Uncle Carly, and finally got connected to you.
Oh
yeah. So tell the people listening, because this is just going to be all audio since we don't have video.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
You'll hear that periodically throughout the interview. So, yeah, just, for the people out there listening, just give them some insight on, where you're at and how much time you're doing.
Well, I'm an Ironwood State Prison, and I'm doing 2 life sentences plus 68. I've been in prison about 19 years. During this time, I've made like a lot of changes.
Damn, it's been 19 years.
Yeah, it's getting pretty close to 19 years, man.
Wow.
I made a lot of changes in this time. I decided to start educating myself in about 2007, and I slowly worked on myself. I'm a class away from getting 3 AA degrees. One of them's in social behavioral science, which has taught me a lot about myself, the way I see the world, and my worldview. And I've just grown, man, in all this time, and
so as far I was just gonna say, as far as your worldview, so you got locked up when you were what, like 13? That was like the first time you got locked up?
I believe I was 12, almost 13. Yeah, the first time I got locked up.
Okay, so you were basically the byproduct of the system. Like everything that you believed in, everything that you were about was essentially like your perception was shaped by the juvenile system, YA, state prison. So just by convicts and the mentality that goes along with that.
Exactly. I mean, at a young age, you're susceptible to, just being easily influenced by your environment. And I was raised in that system where gang culture and drug use, crime, and violence was a big part of the environment. So being young and easily influenced, I kind of fell right into that stuff and kind of shaped my perception of life and reality and the way I saw things. It steered me towards like racism and just violence.
So let me ask you this. So when you initially got busted for the first time, it was for Grand Theft Auto?
It was the GTA, yeah. GTA and burglary was some of my first charges when I was younger.
Gotcha. And you went like on a high speed chase, right? Like through like Magic Mountain area or something like that.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I never really asked you, and I remember exactly where I was. Our dad was getting remarried, and 3 days prior to that, you just kind of went missing. They didn't know. They didn't get a phone call or anything like that. And then I guess the weekend that he was getting married, you were in like the juvenile system. What happened when you first got busted?
You want to see about the scenario that led up to? Me and a friend, we broke into a house and found car keys and took one of the cars out of the garage and just started driving around. And I mean, I was so short I had to put pillows up and scoot the seat way up. But I believe I was like 12 years old, and we were just driving around, man, and causing havoc. And we went to Magic Mountain, left Magic Mountain, then went up into like a residential neighborhood, and not far from where Magic Mountain is. And was driving around and skidding, and someone happened to call the cops. The cops tried to get behind us, so I got in a high-speed chase, and we drove through a fence that led into like a little desert area. And I got out of the car and we started running, and we got caught. The cops caught us, and that was my first experience with juvenile hall. They gave me a year for that.
Wow, yeah, it seems like a pretty extensive amount of time for like your first crime. Instead of, I just look at the system as like at that age, 12, 13 years old, that is just gonna make you a worse criminal. Like they're just gonna put you in with other people that are probably a lot deeper in the system, that have been in the system for a while, and then they're just going to throw a 12, 13-year-old kid in with a bunch of other just criminals, and you're just going to learn how to be a more of a criminal. So prior to that, because I want to talk about
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Damn, that goes up really loud. She just interjects, doesn't she? She just gets up in there and just she doesn't interject, she just interrupts. And so I want to really go back, because I mean the thing is, for you and I, we rarely get to have conversations, and this is another thing about the tablet process of us being able to actually have phone calls. Like they're going to get cut off every 15 minutes, but you'll be able to call right back. You don't have to wait on phone times. Our struggle really, I think, to really understand each other and to learn about each other, because like I said, I mean, you've been in and out of the system. I feel like I barely know you. You know what I mean? And we just have this shared experience up until that point of you going to juvenile hall, and then us kind of like seeing each other here and there. What was it in you? What, like looking back, what was going on inside of you that led you up to that point to start to want to hang out with like the criminal element, to hang around with other people that were thuggish? What was going on inside of you that you can remember that was the build-up to that?
Well, I'd say the build-up is that we didn't really come from a real like happy home when we were younger. you know, it was mom's mental issues, dad's drinking, and the way he talked to me and you. I wasn't a happy kid, and I just remember feeling a lot of anger, right? So
what
anger.
What age do you think you started to become aware of that?
I'd say about 11 and a half, 12.
That's when you became aware of it.
And I just remember feeling like a lot of anger and just feeling angry all the time and not happy. I just wasn't like a happy kid due to like our home environment. And so then I'd go out and I'd start hanging around just the wrong crowd. We'd pick fights with people, and that was a way for me to get my anger out, and that's what just led me towards that type of crowd. And then you know, my drug use started up when I was 12 too, just to feel better because I wasn't happy. I used,
right,
and that also added to my criminal lifestyle, man. It just eventually got me locked up and continued to keep me locked up.
So there
and I steadily just started gotten worse up until I caught this.
I think there's a pinnacle moment when you're talking about that age of you being 11, 12 years old, because I was around 9 years old. 1989 was a very important year for you and I. And so it seems to be that was sort of the catalyst to that basically kickstarted what happened in 1989. What happened when you were 11 and 12 years old that was like a really drastic change for you and I?
Well, I would just say that that was the time where Dad left. He left, and we didn't have no male figure to try to like kind of keep us in check.
Right.
And we had Mom, who was going through mental health issues.
Yeah, she was actually had a nervous breakdown around the time they divorced. And do you remember? Because it's different for you, because I think you were a little more aware of what was going on. That she tried to commit suicide by taking pills. Do you remember when you came up?
Yeah.
Do you remember when you came up to me and you told me when I was at Zach's place?
I don't remember that. I remember the attempt, and they called. I think we called ambulance or something.
Right. I wasn't actually. Yeah, I wasn't there. I was hanging out with Zachary Rogers, and I was playing with him out in front of his house, and I remember you came up and you were like, you know, hey, like, let's go home. We got to go home. And you didn't tell me at first, and I was just like, you know, being like the younger brother, I was like, fuck off, I'm not going home. I'm fucking playing. But you seemed like a lot more serious, you know, more so than you had at other times, and you eventually were just, dude, we got to fucking go home. Like, Mom tried to commit suicide, and I just remember not really.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I remember not being able to like process that like in the moment, but I don't remember what happened after that. I remember that one moment, but I don't really remember like, you know, after that. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't remember that part of it, man.
Yeah, that's trippy.
I don't remember that part. That was a lot for two youngsters to go through, though, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, and then go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's going to cut off here in a second. You want me to call back, right?
Yeah, I want you to call back for sure. Nah, we're done. I'm over this. Too serious. Way too serious.
Yeah, I'll call you right back.
All right.
I'm going to do it right now.
Okay. All right. Do you really like reflect on like prior to that, like the build up to that? You know, just, you know, do you think that was just kind of the breaking point for you? Or did you feel that there was something else going on inside of you prior to like our parents getting divorced? Because, you know, they had separated like quite a few times, you know, like my memories are, you know, kind of, they would always, I remember they used to argue a lot, man. So that's one of the reasons I wasn't feeling like I was a happy kid all the time. Just, it wasn't a happy environment to be in all the time with Dad drinking. Mom's mental illness too.
Yeah, Mom's mental issues. Yeah.
Right. It was
just a lot for us to process.
How did you process that?
One of the main reasons. Well, like I said, man, I just remember being real unhappy, and that's why I started running away to to separate myself from that. You remember when I was younger, I used to run away a lot? I think even one time I tried to take you with me, but
oh man,
got hungry and went back.
You know what? It's funny. It's funny because I just told that story to Ari the other day, which is funny that you bring that up. You were okay. This is my memory of it. You were spray painting on a piece of plywood on the side of a house, right? And one of the neighbors or something saw. And so we ran and we took off. And so either the night before school or the morning of, we were walking to school and you're like, hey, they're going to arrest me or something like that. And or they're going to bust us because they saw us spray painting and we have to ditch school. We have to run away. It must have been the night before because I felt like we kind of packed like we were going to run away because we had chips, bags of chips, or maybe it was our lunch or whatever. We, I don't know. It was basically following your lead, at that point. Is that how you remember that? And then we ended up walking through the desert. I forget. We had 2 or 3 other people with us, maybe just 2, but we ended up going to the AM/PM, buying fireballs. Remember fireballs being super popular, the little cinnamon jawbreaker type things?
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we ended up going out to some field, and there was an old abandoned trailer in the middle of nowhere, and we were inside of it.
I remember that part.
Yeah.
I thought it was just me.
What's up?
Yeah, that's the part I remember there, and I think I remember being hungry, and we had a suitcase with stuff in it.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
After about an hour, I remember after an hour, I was like, all right, so let's go back now. I thought it was because we didn't have any food or anything, but
yeah, I don't. In my mind, I thought we were going to be gone forever. I was like, this is how we live now. We're nomads, and it was weird that I was okay with it. I was I remember being nervous about it, and then so we ended up, of course, going back home, and everything was, kosher. And we're like, okay, well, we got to wait. The next day, you were saying, oh, we need to do it again, or we need to, I don't know, you ended up ditching school, and I didn't go with you. And then I got a call, I was in class, I think it was in 3rd grade, and the telephone rang, and I think we were about to watch a movie because it was on a Friday, and they had cupcakes. They were distributing cupcakes out to all the students in the class, and we're about to watch a movie or something. And they got a phone call. The teacher's Tobias, you have to go to the principal's office. And I was like, oh. And I left my cupcake there, and I did not get to go back to get my cupcake because I got in trouble for ditching school because you went to Johnny DeLuca's place where they had that backyard pool, or he had an empty pool that we would skate. You pick up that other side. You pick up that other side because what happened when you tried to ditch school the next day?
I remember Pops caught me.
How did that go down?
I think Pops caught me while walking out. Well, I think me and my buddy Johnny, we were in an abandoned house right next to his, and then we decided to go out and cross the street to do something. But Dad had just happened to be coming home from work earlier that day or something. He caught me.
And what did he do? What was?
Yeah, I definitely look.
What was the
He's pretty. I just remember he was mad and he roughed me up a little bit. Not too bad, just enough to try to scare me and yelling at me.
It didn't work though, huh?
That's all I remember of that. And I just remember getting
I said it.
Apparently no. Apparently it
did not work at all.
Yeah,
that was 88.
But like I say, man, that was just the beginnings of the bad person I was to become, man. But
so I have a question for you.
I'm not that person no more.
No, you're definitely not. But I wanted to, because I've always said that there was something going on inside of you, even prior to that. But maybe it's because you were a lot more aware than I was, because I was definitely a kid that I was always in my own world. I was always drawn to sort of creative things and doing creative things. So I was always drawn into that world. And maybe that was my way of dealing with what was going on in our environment. But I think that you absorbed it a lot differently than I did. I think that you were just really aware of it. And so you seem to always have this mischievous nature about you.
mischievous nature about it. Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think so? Like growing up, like not necessarily like in an evil way, but I just always thought, and I had sort of mentioned this with Mom, with the interview with her. I felt like there was always a part of you that felt kind of empty because you had a fraternal twin that had died really young, and I think that there was like a lack in you, like growing. There was just this inner civil war going on, of just, not feeling complete. And I'd always connected that to, how it must have like felt like emotionally as like, like this baby that like shared the womb. And
I don't know if that, I mean, that's a possibility. I don't know too much about that type of psychology, but when you talk about the emptiness part, I could tell you that feeling empty and just not feeling kind of hollow inside, man, is what kind of led me to my drug use.
Yeah.
And I didn't really learn to get rid of that. So I didn't really I filled up that emptiness with other things in my life now, like family and education and my spirituality. I've learned to fill up that emptiness. I don't have that emptiness feeling anymore like I started out with. It's something I still think about it, but I know that our unhappy home environment was a big contributing factor to not being happy or feeling complete. I think I was always trying to seek that tight-knit family that just didn't have when we were younger. And I've been like, I guess you could say I've just been waiting to get that complete again.
Right. And
working on that. And being in here, I've got it to the best of my ability. It's been strengthened, and I'm just hoping it continues to get better, man. And so we can actually get out of this place one day and get to that dream of a tight-knit family, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about the process that you have been going in and out of the system. You started off going to juvenile camps, worked your way up to, or graduated to youth authority. And that, I think, was, like, for me anyway, that's when I started to really see the big changes in you and the person that you were becoming. Because, juvenile camp was, it was, you're kind of getting in trouble. It was very light, even though looking back on it, like stealing a car at the age of 12 or 13 or breaking into people's houses is not really light. But in terms of going deeper into the mindset of a criminal and a convict and someone that you just start to see changing forms as a person, like their ideas and what they believe. And so when you graduated from juvenile camps, when you got in trouble, you went to Fred C. Nellis, and you did like 4 years, right? And how old were you at that time? And then what did you get busted
This
for?
call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
What did you get busted for when you did the 4 years?
I believe I was 15 or 16 years old, and I was committed to CYA for 8 years for receiving stolen property.
Why did they give you that amount of time? That seems.
Well, when the judge when he sentenced me, said it was based on my previous record. So I had the GTA and the burglaries.
Okay.
So he committed me to the California Youth Authority for 8 years.
Okay, so that crime happened.
And,
that crime happened after the going to juvenile, because you went to a couple juvenile camps. You went to Camp Miller, Camp Kilpatrick.
Yeah, well, the first time I went the first time I was arrested, I went to camp for a year, and then got out again and went to another camp for a year after I got arrested. And then after that, YA.
Gotcha.
But yeah, like you were saying, YA is the place where I really learned to start just living a criminal lifestyle. Like
for the people that don't know what the difference is, can you explain? Well, now I think they've gotten rid of all the YAs or most of them, or they're going to just abolish them completely. But For the people that don't know, what exactly is the Youth Authority, the YA?
Well, the California Youth Authority it's kind of like a juvenile prison system. It's you have different age groups from like 18 to 25, and then the ones below that, and it's a place where people go to do long terms, or it's state instead of the county. Like county camps or like LA County Camp, and YA is one of those states. It's more like a juvenile state prison system. Is what it's.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
So,
Gotcha. So
I'll call you back.
Yeah, call me back. So I was just gonna say. So it's basically a prison of kids. There's no like older dudes to sort of guide the younger guys or to maybe give them insights. It's all just young criminals fending for themselves.
Well, back then there wasn't much towards rehabilitation. They had a few things, but no one like they got today. I'm gonna call you right back, man.
Okay, call me back. All right.
Where was I now?
You were talking about when the first night that so we were explaining to everybody about what CYA was, or I don't know if it's still around or is, but
the first night I was in Nellis. Let's just first say that when I went in there, I had a few problems and a few issues. I was on the wrong track, and this is kind of like the place kind of shaped who I was and how I saw the world. And but the first night I was there, I was just sleeping, and another a black inmate hit me in the face with a sock and soaking some socks. They called it packing, but for no other fact than that I was just white. So part of that, I didn't really have any like racial beliefs or anything like that. But this I would say would be the starting of me being a racist person back then.
So let me ask you this: How did you know that it was because you were white? Like that you were attacked because you were white?
Because I was half asleep and I heard something about something white boy, and then I heard something about something white boy. And I was like in the sleepy haze, and I heard something of the sort. But it was for that reason. So, like I said, prior to that, I never really thought about race too much or anything like that. And
well, yeah, I mean,
that's kind of where I started to
come from a interracial family too.
Yeah, exactly. And then
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
from there on, like other racial issues that happened, I just started having building a false perception of race, and I started becoming a racist.
Well, can you further talk about, were there white guys your age? And I mean, I would imagine so. I mean, I know how the system is, so it's segregated, and then of course, like I would imagine YA is like even worse than like state prison. But how? So when you went in there, I'm just saying, did you already have like a sense of like going through like juvenile hall, just being like a white kid, that there was this sort of segregation that transpires in prisons and the juvenile system and YA? Did you already know that leading up into the YA, or was like going into YA like this just almost like I guess you would say, like in terms out here, like a culture shock? How, like, walk me through the steps of.
I mean, it was juvenile hall was a little bit. You started to see a little bit more of the racial issues. Not too bad. Like I said, YA is where I really started to pick up these racist ideologies, and the races were like a lot more segregated, and you don't, like the white rules, you can't smoke after black inmates or northern Hispanic inmates.
And then
anything. It just, they had a bunch of racial rules, and
right. So something that you didn't even I was going to say, so something that you didn't even have inside of you going there created this division, this divide, And then that got compounded even more and more as there was this fear and threat of this imminent sort of imaginary enemy on this other side because it was created by somebody else.
Well, yeah, by the culture that was going on there. Yeah, exactly. I mean, at this age, I understand that you can make choices not to participate and fall into those ideas, but at a younger age, we're more susceptible to be influenced by people and my peers. I just kind of fell in with it.
Well, that and the fear element, right? You go to YA and you're being attacked, either side, whether it's Sureños, Norteños, blacks, whites, whatever group that you belong to. You go into this system where the system is already that. This is the reality of that system, is that there's segregation and there's groups divided, and that if you don't stand with a certain group, more harm could, be done to you, especially if you're a lone wolf. I mean, being a lone wolf in a place like that is a scary place.
Yeah, there's definitely a fear factor in that. If you wanted to stand out, like you said, and be a lone wolf, then you're going to be attacked, and so that was another thing, pushing you to follow these rules and other things that are going on in there. But it's just, like I said, at that young of an age, man, you're just real susceptible to being influenced by your peers, man. But YA is where I learned to become violent. I used violence to solve my problems, and I clicked up with other I started clicking up with white D members so people had my back, and then I had theirs, and it just shaped who I was, man, the way I saw things, and I thought it became ingrained in me, racism, and then gang culture, towards gang culture, drug use is within that too. So drugs started becoming a part of that. And
did you do drugs when you were in YA?
Well, they weren't in there all the time, but when they were, I did. And then when I got out, I started using meth, and like I said, from a young age, I always had that emptiness and that hollowness, so I tried to fill that emptiness and hollowness up with drugs, but it's just a temporary fix to the I guess the loneliness, the hopelessness I felt.
So YA, going to Fred C. Nellis, this is a place that started to really shape your perception of the world around you, right? Like adopting racist ideologies, becoming more violent. And so you do, because I remember going to visit you a few times, and I had no clue what it was like for you. But when you got out of there, I had seen the difference. There was a hardness to you, even though you were still happy to see your family. There was just something that was just different about you. And I remember you even telling me some of the stuff that you had to go through, and I think I was asking you what happened. You were telling me stories about being in the hole or something, and the cops, if something happened in there, they would put you on your knees on the concrete floor, and you had to stay there for hours. Can you tell me a little bit about the mental suffering that you, and sometimes physical suffering that you had to go through at the hands of the state, the people that I guess are supposed to be rehabilitating you? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah. Well, the specific incident you were just talking about, that was Parole, and a riot had occurred between Hispanic and black inmates, and the cops at that time they had a thing called Gym TV. I heard they got sued for it now, but when a riot would happen, they put everybody that was in the vicinity in the gym. It was called Gym TV, and they put handcuffs on you in the front, and then you have to lay on your stomach, and they put them on your back, and then they make you get on your knees with the handcuffs on, and if you start falling over your face, like I was falling over on my face because my knees were starting to hurt from being there hours on my knees, they put you in a football helmet, so I'd fall, I wouldn't hit my head on the ground. But
let me tell you, that's not. I was gonna say that's not an easy thing to do, because I remember you demonstrated it for me and you showed me, and I tried to do it for like a minute and a half, and I was already like it just hurt.
It was rough on. Yeah, it was rough on the knees, but I heard they got sued for it a few years after. I'm pretty sure they don't do it anymore. But that was one of the instances, and another instance when I was in.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
A counselor brought in a movie. I think it was American Me. It was like a prison-based one, and he wasn't supposed to bring it, and someone told on him, right? So he told the inmates it was me. Well, it couldn't have been me because I was in the hole.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
That piece of information was ignored anyhow. So I got jumped on by like 3 or 4 inmates. That's the time I got my 2 front teeth knocked out.
Oh, damn.
That was just another incident.
Just one of many, I would imagine.
Yeah, that was just another incident. Yeah, there was a lot of different issues, man.
Because, I mean, it's a lot, and I really want to just focus on the fact that you were a teenager. You know what I mean? Like, you were...
Yeah, I was a teenager at that time. Right.
Yeah, I mean, and I am glad that they're actually implementing a lot more programs for inmates, because that was just not available. And you sort of see this cycle. It's like you know what I watched the other day? I watched Innocent Man with Tom Selleck. You remember that movie?
Innocent Man, yeah. What?
Where he just plays some innocent guy that ends up getting framed for something by those 2 crooked cops, which is the one actor that's one of the crooked cops is the dude that was in Hammer. Remember Hammer? I think it was Hammer. The dude that he had that really long 357. It was kind of like a comedy detective kind of show. Anyway, Tom Selleck ends up getting framed for a crime because they end up going to a house that it's the wrong address, and they were going to go steal some drugs from some criminals or something like that, and they end up going to Tom Selleck's character's house, and they realize, like, after they shoot him, he comes out of the bathroom holding a hand dryer. They end up shooting him, and then they frame him because they realize they fucked up, and then he ends up going to prison, and then he ends up doing, I think, like 3 years or something like that, and he's just a regular guy from the street, and then ends up going there. I think that movie's a great example of you can be really anybody. You could be the most ideal citizen, ideal kid, and you end up like going through some shit, and something happens. You go into that system, and once you go into that system, it's not really designed to create a better version of yourself. It's not designed to keep you from going back. It's not designed to make you someone that can shine in society.
Let me just interject real quick. Like, back then, for sure.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
But it has been getting a lot better, bro. Like with educational programs and like these things with the tablets. There's still little issues, but it has gotten a lot better. There's a lot more programs out there that help people when they're getting out of prison. There's a lot more organizations like Initiative Justice and what's the other one? I can't think of it right now. But ARC, and it's just
Anti-Recidivism Committee, right?
A little bit better. Yeah, that's a real good one. But it is getting a little better, man, compared to what it used to be, for sure. You want me to call you back again, man?
Call me back. Call me back again.
All right. I'm back, man.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot more programs that are going on right now. I'll be doing my second meeting with Initiate Justice. I mean, they have meditation organizations for prisoners. I mean, social media and I think the internet has really spotlighted really a lot of what was wrong with the system and how people that were coming out of that system were just basically going back. And people are like, wait a minute, that's not rehabilitation at all. We actually have to implement like programs in order for these people to actually change, You go through YA, You go to Paso Robles. I think you went to. I think you were like in 4.
YTS.
You were in YTS as well. Yeah, like 4 different. YTS was by Chino, right?
Yeah, it's right by Chino Prison. Yeah, it was for 18 to 25-year-olds.
Okay.
I actually did time in CDCR, and YA came to pick me up after I did my CDCR time. So the same thing. I had to go back to YA and do time, but
wait, what?
they stopped doing that now.
You did state time and then you had to go back to YA?
Yeah, I was on YA parole when I got arrested, but I went to CDCR, state prison, and then when I was done with that time, YA wanted to chuck out of me, so I had to go back to YA for a little bit, and then I went home. But
so I want to after you did your 4 years and after you did your 4 years in Nellis, you got out.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
You got out.
I went to Nellis.
Yeah, I went
to Nellis for 3 years, and then I went.
3 years.
To Paso when I was 18, and then I did like a year or some change in Paso, and then I went home.
Oh, that was all one. That was consecutive. That was all one linear amount of time. Oh, I always thought they were separated for some reason. Yeah. So you went to Nellis, and then so when you got out, you were already in that mindset, and you were just when did you really start getting into doing meth? Can you tell me about the first time you got like high, like was it like on the streets?
Well, the first times was actually, I believe, when I got out of Camp Kilpatrick.
Oh, okay.
I was in camp.
Okay.
And I was hanging around a few of my friends, and there was meth going around that crowd. And I started doing it then, and I remember liking it, and it taking away some of that emptiness and all that I felt. And then I ended up getting arrested, and went to YA, and I was in abstinence from doing it all that time, right? And when I got out of YA, out of Paso, I'd actually started doing a lot better, and my head was as clear as it was going to be at that time. I was actually trying to do something in my life. And then I started doing meth again that time. Well, I think I was out like 10 months. That's when we lived with Dad. Probably about 10 months ago it was. And then I started using meth probably like after about 8 months after I was out. And that's where it just started all going bad, man. My use just started getting worse and worse. I ended up getting strung out on meth, and then wanting to get high again. I stole a bike out of a store, which that was my first adult charge. It's commercial burglary. And
straight tweaker status.
I stole that bike. I was on.
Stole a bicycle out of a store.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was $1,000 Cannondale bike that I brought to a connection to get high.
Oh, okay. At least it wasn't like a Huffy or something. I'm thinking you went inside and got like a Huffy. At least you went and got like a bike that was worth something. You didn't get like some $50 Huffy with strings, coming out the handlebars. That's what I was imagining. So yeah, I mean, at least you were aiming high. No pun intended.
Yeah, I mean, well, when I think back on those days, man, I'm just not happy with who I was, man. But
well, yeah, I'm not either. But I mean, it is pretty entertaining to think about some of the stuff that you go through, because you're like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, why would I do this? Why would I do that? And it's almost, I mean, it's sad in the sense that you're really damaging yourself and then you're damaging things that are around you. But I think when you come out of that, if you can kind of look back at some of that stuff with a little bit of comedic element or like outlook on some of that stuff,
man.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, for those type things.
Did I ever tell you the first time I did meth?
Oh, I think so. Is that where you got all paranoid and ran in somebody's house or something?
Yeah.
Ran in the house?
Yeah. It's funny because I mean that's I look back at like moments like that where I did meth and then I had the worst experience and then I ended up, doing it again. But yeah, so I had ran away at the time, right? And I was staying with quote unquote friends of mine, and it was like a meth type of house. Like people came. I don't know if they were selling out of there, but at this point I was hanging around. I guess they were like the city. I came and told my friend's mom that they had all this trash like between the wall and the back of the garage, and they're like, you have to clean all this stuff out before this date, otherwise you'll get fined. And so we were all over there. It was me and like two or three friends or whatever. And she's like, my friend was like, hey, do you mind helping out, like clean out the back? So we were all like, yeah, sure, we'll help you out. But the mom was like, if you want like a little extra energy, I think I was about like 13 or 14. She's like, if you want a little bit extra energy, you could try this stuff. And I had no idea. I had never touched meth or anything. I'd really been around it other than knowing kind of like that the adults around there like did that stuff. And she's like, oh yeah, you'll have like energy for days. You guys will be able to like clean up that back like in no time. And so she bust out like 4 lines of, it was probably like pink champagne or some shit, and did the 4 lines. And then I was just like, whoa, I was just like, everything was just so heightened. I felt so amazing. I felt so good. We were like in the backyard, like cleaning out, like throw like ahead of myself type of stuff where I just had, you know what I mean? I was like already like 10 moves ahead, and I was just like, and we were like, I remember just smoking GPCs, what was it? Generic Palmdale cigarettes they used to call them. Yeah. And, just going through cigarettes like after another, pack me out, like, where are all the cigarettes? Oh, we smoked them all. Thinking, I had no ideas about like come downs or like not like having, like not being able to sleep. And, time came to like sleep. We're not sleeping. We're like, why am I still up? Why am I still up? Why am I not hungry? Why am I not hungry? And like 2 or 3 days go by. Yeah. And they're feeling better. Right. It was like the morning, mid-afternoon. And I'm just like, I'm tripping at this point. The 2 dudes that were still there, my friends, they're like, we're going to go to the mall. Do you want to go? And I was like, no, I think I'm going to stay here. I need to sleep. Whew. It actually brings me back to that feeling, like telling the story. But I'm laying on his bed in his bedroom. And I can't sleep. And I get up and I'm like going around the house. And he has his stepdad is there. And he doesn't speak very good English. He tells me, oh, you're feeling bad. You need more. And he's like trying to get me to like buy some. I was like, I don't have money. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really want to do anymore. I had this necklace that I think I got for Christmas or something. And it was like, like gold, white gold or something. I don't even remember what it was. But he's like, oh, like you can sell me that necklace. And I was like, nah, I'm good. And so I go back into the room and I try to go back to sleep. And I'm just tossing and turning. And then all of a sudden I hear voices coming from the living room. And I hear the stepdad, and somebody comes in, like a knock on the door. They come in, and then I hear like talking, and then he's like, he's telling this guy, yeah, I'm trying to get him to buy this, but he's not buying it, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, that's weird. Why is he talking about me? So this goes on, right? And then I hear like more conversation, like 10 minutes later. Yeah, like
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Let's take him in the back, and we'll beat him up, and we'll take the chain. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? I'm starting to freak out at this point. And then it escalates, and then it gets
they were really saying that, or you were
well,
tripping?
I didn't know it at the time, but I was tripping. So it gets to the point where they're like, we'll take him to the back of the yard, and then we'll kill him. Like, we'll just kill him. We'll kill him for the necklace. So like when I heard that, I was like, why the fuck am I still here? And there was a small window right above it was small. It wasn't like a big one. You can kind of like climb out like really nice, put your leg over. Like you had to like basically Superman it. And that's what I did, dude. I was like, fuck, I gotta get out of here. And I jumped out the window, Superman status, landed on the driveway, jumped the fence, the neighbor's fence, and there was a pile of wood stacked up, right? And I'm like trying to climb up the wall, and I'm falling down on the wood stack. And then I finally am able to get up and over, and then I hear a car alarm go doo-doo, and like a car turn on. So in my mind, I'm thinking that they're now in the car and they're like trying to follow me. I hop the fence. I go through a couple of backyards, and then I see a car coming up the street, and I think it's them. I hop back. I go through a backyard, and I'm getting shocked. Like, I'm getting zapped, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what am I getting zapped by? I look down. You know how they would try to keep animals out of, like, their garden or whatever? There was those little wires that could shock you.
Oh, yeah, the little electric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fucking hitting those. I'm hitting those while I'm high out of my mind already. And it's zapping me, and then I jump another wall, and then I see a car coming down the street. And then I jump inside the backyard of, like, I go behind a gate, I open up the gate, and I'm just like crouched in the corner.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I'm crouched in the corner, and I'm like, I'm gonna die. This is the night that I'm gonna get killed. So I ended up opening up the front door to this house, and I like opened it up, and it was this empty living room. And I was, at this point, I closed the door, and then I'm kneeling down, and I start doing like an army crawl because I don't want the people to see that I'm in there. Like, I don't know if they're like looking for me. And I'm like crawling towards the back of the house, and I'm in the living room, and I go towards the kitchen. So I'm in the kitchen, and then to the right, there was a door opening, and I'm crawling head forward. And then I look to the right, and there was a bathroom, and there was an old man taking a dump. And he's just kind of staring down at the floor, and then he turns over and he looks at me and he goes, "Oh!" And I was like, "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to do anything. Like, I'm just like, there's people that are after me, and I just need a place to like hang out for a little bit." And I don't really remember like what happened in between that time. I was just sitting on the couch, and his neighbor ends up coming over. Like, his wife ended up coming out, and she was really like empathetic and was like really worried. And they had called the cops, and his neighbor at one point came over with a rifle, and he's like, "Are you good, Hank?" And, you know, or whatever. I don't remember his name, but he kind of reminded me of Hank Hill from King of the Hill. But yeah, so the cops end up coming, and they, you know, I kind of tell them like, "Oh yeah, I was like being chased," but I didn't tell them who it was or anything. And they had me go around in their back seat, like calling out for my friend or whatever. That I guess I don't. It was like weird because I didn't tell them where he lived, or so they were like, well. They didn't take me to jail. Well, the thing was, when they put me in the back of the cop car, the cop asked me, have you done any drugs? And I laugh at this point because I said like, no, I haven't done any drugs. And my eyes must have been like just pupils like blown out. They knew I must have been on drugs. And I'm, 14-year-old kid. Like, no, no drugs. What are drugs? I know they must have known that I was high out of my mind, but Dad wasn't home. I think he was like he was on vacation, and I ended up going. They took me to Aunt Kathy's, and I got to Aunt Kathy's, man, and I still thought those people were there, like they were gonna follow me there. It's crazy, but I finally ended up going to sleep that night.
That's a good example. That's probably what that's a good example of why people should not use meth, because it does put your mind in a delusional state, man. Meth causes a lot of problems. It causes death, delusion. It just you're not ever going to think straight using meth, man. It only takes you down a terrible path, man.
Yeah, it only took me a whole year to be like, you know what, this is not for me. I mean, that wasn't like my only experience like that. It was so many experiences like that. Thinking the whole town of Lancaster was chasing me.
I've never, that's good. Just don't mix with the brain, man. I never really seen you had a problem with it, other than the story you told me right here.
Well, you weren't.
You struggled with it.
You weren't out. Yeah, I mean, this was like this must have been, I think, when you were like away for like that good amount of time. Yeah, I know. I was addicted to it for like a year straight, until I moved, and I got away from it because where I moved to, they didn't have it, But I was stealing for it, all that stuff, stealing from dad, and it was pretty heavy.
Yeah, when I caught this life sentence, I was at rock bottom with it, man. I was out of my mind, man. I was up for 2 weeks. I was delusional. I was just not in a good place, man. And that's the accumulation of using that meth is part of why I caught my this life sentence, man.
Yeah, well, I'm
glad that I've been sober for about 8 years now, bro. I've been clean and sober. I do NA groups. I do addiction study. I got an addiction study certificate from Parole College, and I try to work with other inmates on the yard who want to stay sober. I was doing it till the program canceled. I was doing NA groups on a Friday night or Thursday night. So my goal now is try to help people not take that same path I took with the drug use and the criminal lifestyle, man.
That's awesome, man. I mean, it's been amazing. It's been amazing to see you. I think grow as a person, over the years. I mean, leaps and bounds.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
But yeah, I kind of
sober. My life's been like so much better, bro. So much better, man.
Yeah, I think that's the case for a lot of people. I mean, especially when it comes to having an addicted personality. But I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and stop here because I know that you said that your tablet, you have to recharge it. But I want to really go back to, this time that you got busted, because that's how you ended up getting all your time. And I really want to talk about your mindset leading up to that point and just being able to reflect on the patterns of behavior and the pattern that you saw that led you up to that point of getting busted and kind of what happened with your crime, and then talk about facing basically the 2-7 to lives with the 60 years enhancements. And then on the next episode we'll talk about the whole process of enhancements and talk about bills that are up and bills that have been passed, because just like there's a lot more programs for inmates, I think society as a whole is starting to look at the prison system as a fault for everybody, really, for that matter. And so the laws that were enacted before, like 3 strikes and the enhancements, people are trying to change the enhancements, and the three strikes law is no longer in effect, right?
3 strikes law is still in effect.
Oh, it is. Okay.
LA County, I don't think they're pursuing it. I'm not for sure.
Oh, okay.
Because I have seen some litigation going on, some talk of litigation on reforming 3 strikes, but I really don't know.
Okay. So yeah,
I think George Gascon's not trying to prosecute people under 3 strikes anymore. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, when you come back, when you're all fully charged up over there, we can do a part 2, and we can talk about the second chapter of what you're going through. We'll basically talk about that whole experience from the a little bit prior, the lead up to it, and then you getting busted, and then you doing your time, and then the changes that sort of transpired, or the events that transpired that led you up to the point of wanting to change, and then we could talk about how we were on the same yard together at one point, which that was very surreal for me.
Yeah, that was a trip.
That was a big time trip for me.
That was a trip, especially for me, from my perspective.
Yeah, I would imagine.
My little brother on the yard kind of tripped me out, man.
Yeah, that was really that was weird. But well, thank you for sharing your story thus far. And when we come back, we'll hear the rest of it, and we'll talk about all the positive changes that you made over the years as well.
Okay.
All right, there, Goomba.
All right.
Huh?
All right, buddy.
Yeah.
Are you gonna click off that first? Are you gonna click off that first, and then we can still talk on this?
Yeah, I am. So this has been episode 14 of Screaming at a Wall podcast. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave a review, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, no video on the YouTube for this one, but make sure you subscribe. Head on over to anchor.fm/Screaming at a Wall podcast. There you can see how you can help out and maybe donate or subscribe. And anything is we're grateful for over here. So I'm actually going to nix that part because that was terrible. We'll catch you on the next episode where we'll pick up with my brother part 2. Again, where this is a series of intimate insights into my life, the people that have been in my life, my family, my friends, and hopefully you get some insights too. We'll catch you on the next episode. Stay free. Peace.
What are you rebelling against?
What do you got?
We were trying to change something.
Skateboarding is a way of learning how to redefine the world around you.
The owners of this country don't care about the poor and general.
Now, baby, push me. Push me again now.
Screaming at a wall.